The TNR 2022 Touring Car Championship season hits the pointy end at the penultimate round here at Silverstone International. Second visit to Silverstone, having done the national circuit earlier on in the season for round 3. And we've got Dom on random grid pole position on the Renault Megane to the right of your screen. Already won a couple of races earlier this season at Knockhill, and Mark alongside in the Vauxhall Astra, yet to take a victory this season, but he has had a couple of podiums. And this is how the action unfolded for race 19 of the season. And it was a good start from Mark's Vauxhall Astra, and manages to get alongside Dom. In the background, Dave's BMW being pushed wide by Andy's Astra, which then goes wide itself. And then as we head down towards the first set of corners, Lee makes a mistake on the grass, gets his car sideways, and then Graham with a hefty hit into the side of Sam, and that takes Jake with him. Sam goes off, Jake goes off, Graham continues, and Dave now trying to challenge as they head onto the hanger straight for the first time. But out front the race leaders are 4 as 1 really, with Dom trying to fight back on the very first lap on Mark. As we head down towards the end of the hanger straight, Dom has retaken the lead, but Mark is hot on his heels. Dom's in a bit deep. Mark back up the inside, and now Lee is trying to join in the battle as well. As we head down towards the final tight twisty section, Mark manages to go to the outside, gets back past Dom, retakes the lead. Lee's going to try and follow through the second position, and in the background there's more battling going on. Tom just staying out this for now. There's a bit of contact between Lee and Dom on the straight here. Further behind, Dubs in 5th, having a good run so far in this race. And just see him going a little bit wide out of shot there. And Lee is through for second place. Dom makes a mistake and loses the cold right rear and is off in a big way. Dubs and Graham now battling. In fact, Graham dropping down the positions. Dave's come through as well. And Dave again on the back end of Graham as they head onto the hanger straight. But Dom's right with them as well, so it's going to be a 3-way tussle this over what is 4th place, held by Graham at the moment. Dave just pulls out just in front of Dom, and looks like the BMW is going to take the position at the end of the hanger straight, and Dom's going to try and go with him. Dave's up the inside of Graham. There's a bit of light touching. Dom goes with him. Dom now to the outside as they head into the final complex, and up front the leaders still status quo at the moment. Graham slots back in. So Dave into 4th, Graham into 5th, but Dom runs into Graham. That'll give Dave a chance to get away a little bit, and then we've got everybody else battling. We've got Andy in the Astra running a really solid 6th, just ahead of Dubs and Sam at the moment. And it's everybody fighting over this position. Dubs tries to go back up the inside of Andy, can't do it. Look at the understeer on Andy's Astra as they head through the first couple of turns. And Dom going off again in the background. Sam makes a mistake, tries to dive out the way as to not run into the back of Andy, and ends up going on the grass, turns his car round. But back to the action up front, it's still very much 3 for the lead now, with Mark ahead of Lee, ahead of Dom, and then there's quite a big gap back to Dave's BMW, still being hounded by Graham, and then Dubs having a decent run in 6th place at the moment. Dom is still trying to make up lost ground after having had that random grid pole position, and he's now up to 6th. He's just got ahead of Dubs. As we go into the final complex, you see Jake in the BMW as well, trying to get a position over Andy in the background. Is it going to work? Is it going to pay off? There's surprisingly little contact going on there. Good driving by the boys, and it's a good battle, and they settle back down again. Dubs 6th, Dom 7th, Jake 8th, Andy 9th, and Sam a little way back in 10th after that spin. Back to the front, it's still really close between these two boys. They're good friends, but they both want to win this one. Lee's already won a couple of times so far this season in the Mercedes, but Mark yet to take a victory for Vauxhall. In fact, the Vauxhall has not won a race this season in anybody's hands. Lee, of course, the only driver in the Mercedes camp. As we head along the straight, not too much to choose between them until they get under that bridge, and then look how much is reeling in on the Astra. Part of that obviously will be the slipstream effect, but Lee definitely looking the quicker of the two at the moment. Slipstream does count for quite a lot around this circuit though. It's much easier to follow than it is to lead, and we've actually got 4 different cars in the top 4 positions: Vauxhall, Mercedes, Renault, BMW, and then the first repeat car is Graham running 5th, so it's the second of the Renaults in this race, but Graham's come up from 10th on this grid, so he's already made up a good number of places. Dom 6th there, and Jake 7th, so not too many position changes further back. Dub and Andy again understeer on Andy's Astra, Dubs and Andy in 8th and 9th respectively with Sam and back. Out front, it's just a couple of tenths between these boys, and it's so close this time. Is Lee going to have an opportunity as we head down Hanger Straight this time? He's closer than he was last time. Is Mark going to have to go defensive? Let's go back to trackside, see if we can get a better view from the outside. Mark just goes middle of the road, places his car quite sensibly, almost contact. I don't think there was though. As we head down into the final complex, the tricky left and then double right hander, but no positions changing at the moment. And actually it's Dave on the move now in the BMW. He has set a scorching 1:08.6 lap, whilst the guys ahead are all in the 1:09s or 1:10s, and now he's the one on the move trying to get up into a podium spot. Graham dropping off a little bit in the background, and then we've got Dom in 6th and Jake running a fine 7th place at the moment, but it's still pretty close up front between these boys. Can Mark take the first Vauxhall victory of the season? He's got Lee just behind, and then Tom just behind, and then Dave just behind. Big old power slide from the BMW as they come out onto the Hanger Straight again. And in the background you see Jake's BMW also, the lights on. Dom is trying to have a go at Graham in the background, but it's Lee's gone for it this time. He's gone for a nosedive up the inside. Beautiful clean move, but he's not necessarily going to have the position because Mark will have plenty of traction around the outside, and Mark does hang on to it for the time being. Excellent driving from the Vauxhall man. Well, excellent driving from both of them. Really clean, honest racing, but Mark does look like he's under some pressure here, and likewise Tom from Dave, Renault from BMW just a little bit further back. It's going to be quite a mega battle between these 4 as Lee tries to have another look. It's not really an overtaking opportunity, but just makes himself known there, and Mark will be well aware that that Mercedes is close. Goes in deep, the Mercedes gets another opportunity, but Mark is wise to it, doesn't cut across the nose of the Mercedes, gives him space, and Lee also very clean and doesn't run the car out wide into Mark. That could have been disaster for one or both of them there. And then we're back on the Hanger Straight again. Let's go on board with the BMW this time, which is known to be fairly potent in a straight line. We're actually a little way off of the other guys at this stage, but it's almost 230 kilometres an hour as we head onto the brakes. Tyres squealing in pain as Lee makes another move up front, but again it's happening in exactly the same place, and it does put Lee to the outside. Mark's on the inside. Is there going to be contact? There's a little bit, but really it is the back of Mark's car in front of Lee's, so really it wasn't a case of Mark pushing Lee wide. It was robust, but Mark had the position on the brakes, and they continue status quo. But these boys are racking up track limits penalties out of the top 4. Dave is the only one who doesn't currently have track limits penalties. Mark's got 1 second, and as we head on to the last lap, Dave is within 1 second of Mark, but is all the way down in 4th place. So technically Dave is leading the race on timing, but can he stay within a second of Mark on this last lap? It looked like a small mistake from the BMW man. Lee and Tom meanwhile have got slightly bigger track limits penalties with 3 seconds and 2 seconds respectively. Behind you can see Dom and Graham still battling, still dicing all the way on this last lap, but it is the race for the win that is all to play for at this stage, with just a couple of corners left to run. Mark's got the least track limits penalty of the top 3. He leads on track. Can he pull away at least a second from Dave? It's going to be close because you can see how close the BMW is. He's not far behind at all. And certainly this lap around, Dave is going to be within that second, I think. And then we've just got one final lap left to go. One push from everybody to see what they can achieve. We come across the line, yet Dave definitely within a second, 0.8 of a second. But Mark clinging on for dear life, bouncing from the BMW in 4th place, and Tom really defending hard. We're just going to go to 3rd and 4th place because look at the battle. Titanic, Dave up the inside, but Tom leaves plenty of room. Dave just decides not to run it out, much like Lee didn't on Mark earlier, and that's cost Dave a bit of time. I think on this final lap it's cost Dave and Tom both time. They've fallen back from the 2 race leaders, and now Dave is at the 2.5 off of the race leader Mark, who's got a 1 second track limits penalty. Again in the background you can see Graham and Dom fighting over 5th. As we head into the final couple of corners, Mark could be on for the first Vauxhall victory of the year, his first Vauxhall victory of his career, and Dave is trying to put on the pressure for 3rd place in the background. I don't think he's quite going to do it, and he's going to be more than a second behind Mark. So as we come up to the line, Mark is going to take his first victory for Vauxhall. Lee's going to drop down the order with his 3-second penalty. Dave finishes 2nd in reality, ahead of Tom, ahead of Lee. And then we've got Graham and Dom fighting all the way to the line. Graham just ahead of Dom. And then we've got Jake, a fine 7th place, ahead of Sam. And then Andy and Dubs come across the line to complete the finishes.